The views shared in this episode represent Kelly and Kendra, not our mamas, partners, church, job, or sponsors.
Regina, welcome to the podcast. We are so happy to have you here today. I would love for you to introduce yourself to our guests.
Sure. So I am Regina Townsend. I am the founder and executive director of the Broken Brown Egg. We exist to inform, empower, and advocate for those experiencing infertility and other reproductive health issues with an emphasis on the Black experience of those issues. So it is a labor of love that I started from my own fertility journey, and it's been going now for 15 years, which is crazy to me.
I love it. Congratulations and happy anniversary.
That's amazing. Thank you.
Yes. I would love for you to share the part of your story that you feel helps people understand why BBE is so important to Black women.
Oh, yeah. So I think most Black women that I've come in contact with, no matter where our background stems from, have some form of that stereotypical don't get pregnant, go to school, do what you got to do, because Black women are hyperfertile and we need to be out here doing what we're supposed to do. Don't go out here and embarrass me. All of these things surrounding womanhood, girlhood, hypersexualization of ourselves without even thinking of it that way. We don't even have the terms for it when we're younger. We just know we're kind of sit with your legs crossed, do what you're supposed to do. And this idea that if you do all of those things, then one day when you've gotten the reward, it means you'll be married and you'll then go on to have children and you'll have a successful life. Ta-da, you did it. And I've really tried to hold myself to that standard for the most part. And so I got married at 23. My husband and I both thought, we're going to have 5 kids. We're going to get these degrees from this art school and use these degrees. But anyway, we were like, we're going to get married. We're going to do these things. And then we're going to have children. And simultaneously, I was dealing with extremely long periods, confusing menstrual cycles. Just, is it coming? Is it not coming? How long is it going to be here? And I wasn't connecting the two, that could then impact what would happen on the have kids part.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've been married about a year or so before we decided, okay, well, let's just try. And then nothing happened.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to the doctor and she said, well, let me give you Clomid. She didn't explain what it was. She didn't tell me, well, let's look into why these periods are so crazy in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Because for years, they had just been giving me birth control pills. I had sat in emergency rooms, doctor's offices, and it was just, here's some birth control. Here's some birth control. Oh, really? Why don't you lose some weight? And then I'll give you some birth control.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And nobody was getting to the root of the problem. And so I was on a website called Chocolate Brides. And on that, because, Black people don't get married. So it was a community for Black women who were getting married to have other people to talk to about, like, how do I get a jumping broom? Or what if I don't have $35,000 for a wedding? And on that site, because of the community factor, so many of us would stay after the wedding or some after the divorce.
Mm-hmm.
And you would get these journals. This was pre-Facebook-ish. And people started talking about their pregnancies. And I remembered a couple women saying that they were going for fertility treatment. And I was like, fertility? Black women they must got money. What is that? And it didn't click until when I was going back and forth to all these doctors and I wasn't getting pregnant. And she gave me Clomid. And I was like, oh, is this what infertility? Why did nobody tell me this was something that was normal? And it's like light bulbs started flashing of like relatives or teachers that I'd had or just friends that had been told when they were 14, you'll never get pregnant because X, Y, and Z, just deal with it. Or yes, it's okay to miss school because your period's so heavy. That's fine. It's Eve's curse. Or relatives who were great with kids that were always picking the kids up but didn't have kids of their own. And I just thought they didn't want kids. All of a sudden it clicked to me. These women and these families, they wanted children,
Mm-hmm.
but maybe they couldn't.
Yeah.
And I got so angry because I was like, well, then why did nobody say that?
Why nobody tell me?
Why nobody tell me? And all of this, sit right, do what you're supposed to do. Don't get pregnant because y'all so hyper fertile that we need to have sex ed in fifth grade. Let me tell y'all all of this. Nobody had included how your body actually works.
Mm.
And that you should have the tools to make decisions about your body
Mm-hmm.
that will be for your benefit and not just for the policing of your body. And I just was so angry and sad and frustrated because I was like, where do I go? And I started looking online, and all the blogs were white women. And I instantly felt like, well, yeah, she can go to the doctor because she got a husband who said, don't work, you stay home. And it's not to say all white women are in a great socioeconomic status, but the majority of them, when you added up the fact that they had the means to have the initial consultation, I felt like, well, this automatically cancels me out.
Mm.
And I needed a space where I could say, no, I'm not canceled out, but I do deserve this information. And it's not in my community at all. And so I spoke to my husband, Jabari, and we were like, I was telling him what I was thinking. And he was like, well, if you want to do something bigger than just a blog, go for it. So we went through LegalZoom to figure out how to incorporate the Broken Brown Egg into more than just the blog, because I was like, I would love to be able, it's one thing to sit and commiserate with other Black women or to just give that support in terms of just having a shoulder to lean on. But I also would love to be able to say, hey, girl, I know you don't have $20 for that copay. And I know you don't have $10,000 because your state doesn't include reproductive health as part of the treatments that are covered. How can I help you?
Yeah.
And so when we incorporated, that was my goal, was to figure out how could I give more to other people so that they didn't feel so alone. And also to put some weight behind what I was telling these doctors that were reaching out to me because they had been told about my blog. And I wanted to be able to tell them, hey, yeah, you see this whole group over here that lives in this community that you didn't put your clinic in?
Mm.
Whole group of people who don't have any information about what you do.
Yeah.
They don't know what an endocrinologist is. They don't know that it wasn't normal to need a go bag in their car because they weren't sure if they're going to bleed through all their clothes that day. They don't know that it's not, too late for them because somebody told them at 14 that they'd never have kids. They don't have any of this information. So how about you focus on some of them and not just the communities that you're in because you knew those people had money.
Mm-hmm.
And it has just grown based on the thought process of all of these things are connected. Our socioeconomics, our education, our lack of access, and just the lack of care and concern for our quality of life. And doing this while concurrently trying to get pregnant myself. It took us 10 years and a lot of doctors who, I had one who I was like, I think I have PCOS. And she was like, girl, you don't know what you're talking about. You're not a doctor. You need to stay off Google. It took one doctor who I went to and I said, well, I don't know what to do. And she said, well, did the Clomid work? No? Okay, well, here's metformin. She didn't ask, let's do some tests. She didn't do, and nobody sitting with me until finally when I had the blog and started doing my own research and advocating for myself. And I got the encouragement to just start questioning doctors and saying, you know what, actually, I think I'm going to talk to somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
That's when things start to fall into place.
Yeah.
And it actually was, I'm a librarian professionally. And so I started to have these pathways to family workshops at the library because I felt like, well, information, advocate, put it together. And I had a doctor who was on one of the panels I did at the library, and she said, "Regina, what's going on with you?" And I was like, "Girl, nothing. Let me tell you." Because at this point we had tried adoption, that had fallen through. We had been headed towards IVF, and then our insurance changed, and it was no longer, our clinic was no longer included. And she said, "Well, come see me." Because I watch what you're doing, and it just seems unfair that you've been doing all of this for other people and you still can't get to where you need to get to. Come see me. I'll take your insurance.
Oh.
And we went to see her, and she was so much more hopeful and encouraging. And she had dealt with infertility herself. And not only she, but everyone in her clinic, all of the staff have experienced infertility, and they just had such a hopeful mindset.
Mm-hmm.
And that was how we ended up moving forward with IVF. And now we have an 8-year-old
It's
who,
adorable.
you can't really see my shirt, but it says Ma, Mama, Mom, Bruh.
That's
He
your
is
names.
8, but he is
Oh, so
well-defined 45-year-old man.
yeah.
And
He's our community baby.
oh my gosh, Judah is, and he's fascinated. When I tell him I have something to do, he goes, "Is it for the broken brown egg?"
Oh.
And that's it. Or he'll go, "Is it for the broken brown egg? Is it for the library? Or is it for Zeta Phi Beta?" He knows all of the things. And
That is
he
hilarious.
is so just entranced about the idea that that babies, he wants to understand why certain people can and can't have babies, because I've never kept his journey from him. And so he reminds me every day that, like, these children that people are struggling to conceive or to adopt, they are coming into homes of families who will be able to help them in a way that they'll change the world one day.
Yeah.
Because they'll be facing the world with this wisdom of what family can look like and can be, and what health should look like and should be.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm excited about that. That gets me up in the morning. So I know that was a lot, but that was actually the condensed.
Yeah, that's your life's work.
We'll be back after a quick break.
Looking to take your podcast to the next level? Centering Equity Productions has your back. With our expert team, we specialize in crafting high-quality audio content that captivates your audience and boosts your brand. From concept development to marketing strategies, we handle it all so you can focus on what you love, creating amazing stories. Whether you're a seasoned podcaster or just starting out, we'll help you shine in the crowded podcasting landscape. Let's bring your vision to life and make some noise together. Contact us at info@centeringequityllc.com or www.centeringequityllc.com.
And your life.
I will also say that I appreciate hearing all the details, because Kelly, Leatra, and Megan will attest to the fact that we did a part 1 about reproductive health for Black women of this podcast a couple of weeks ago. And I was like, I joined the podcast with Kelly and our other friend, like, well, I guess I'm just going to sit this one out and just kind of be around, like, because this is not really this is not my story. But I'm like, then we started talking. I was like, oh, this is more my story than, like, this is just as much my story as anybody on here. You know, about the long periods, the having to, like, go home from school, from the, the nurse's office, them putting me on the pill at 16 years old. So, like, you were just talking about how, because you didn't have the education, it wasn't given to us. You didn't even know, like, this was an issue. Infertility was an issue for you because you weren't told. And so even me at my big age, 48 years old, I've had reproductive issues, but because I wasn't actively trying to have a child at a particular point, I had divorced myself from the idea that this was my conversation too.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that there are other folks that have that same experience.
Oh yeah, I come across people all the time who, when they hear the word reproductive, and I wish we could change that misnomer, because just because it says reproductive, doesn't mean that it is about reproducing. And I've had that conversation with people, because to me, so many people are suffering in silence, or just, like you said, didn't even know that was connected, because they're like, well, I don't want no kids.
Right.
But when we're talking about reproductive justice, that is part of the justice, is the ability to say, I don't want no kids, or I've had enough kids, or I want to understand my body so that I can make that choice in the future, but I don't want to think about that right now. And so many people come to me, and now we're starting to broaden the conversation where there's also things that we realize in the lack of education. We now have women who are like, I don't understand this menopause thing either. What is this? What's this about? I have
Come, Holy Ghost, come.
yeah, where they're like, well, what's this thing? Nobody told me all of these, and nobody told me this either.
Yeah.
I get so many people who feel that way, who are like, well, when you said reproductive, I just was like, I'm tapped out.
Yes. Regina.
And it's not,
oh,
sorry. I was going to say, and it's not that I don't know better, but you know, the sometimes the compartmentalization that we do to like make it through the week.
Yep.
I was just convinced. I was like, yeah, no, this pod is not going to be for me because we're bringing my friend on who I know actually is actively talking about wanting to have children. So this pod is about her. I have nothing to do with this, but I am a support because I'm a woman and reproductive, it's related to my life, but it has driven so much of like how I ended up where I am today, even moving back home to Pittsburgh. But we'll get to that later. Go ahead, Kelly. I'm sorry.
No, I was curious about this intersection of being Black women and also being raised in church, and what role you think that played in your awareness of your body and what your body was designed to do.
You took my question. But it's our question.
It's our question.
I struggle with that a lot, actually. That's one of the things. It comes up in two places for me. One is there is a lot of what I've encountered is people feeling that they have a certain level of sexual dysfunction because they have disconnected pleasure from how their body was designed. And they have instead looked at it as, well, that's something that you earn, and that's something that isn't really for you. It's better to marry than to burn. It's like those kind of thought processes take all of the joy out of it anyway.
Yeah.
And so there's that half of it. And then there's the other half that is when it comes to this conversation, it's nuanced because reproductive justice and reproductive health to me includes the right to have kids, the right to not, the right to choose who to have kids with and for, the right to choose how and when.
Yeah.
And all of those things conflict sometimes with my experiments or my experience of faith.
Yeah.
And it actually, I'll tell you, one of the matriarch of my family right now, she's my oldest second cousin, but she's the top right now. And she is a minister. And a lot of I grew up in the church where a lot of my family either worked there or were ministers, Bible study teachers, all of that. And I always felt a little disconnected because I felt like I'm not on that level. And I know that I might also need to cuss this person out. And I don't want the streets to get back and be like, Regina, one of yours, because I could have sworn.
She cussed me out yesterday.
She told this person some words that I didn't know existed. And so I've always felt a little disconnected. And it was when I started this work that a few of those family members, including that matriarch, came to me and were like, I wish that this information had been available to me, and have made it their business to include me. She actually just had an event this past weekend where she also has a nonprofit that focuses on recognizing Bible scholars and Christian educators. And she made sure that the Broken Brown Egg had a table. And that meant so much to me because she was like, I want people to see that our faith does not contradict with these issues as well. And that we can't tell people, well, just look at the woman with the issue of blood, but we don't tell people the practical application of, okay, but Jesus was walking through her town. I got to go to work tomorrow, and I just need to know if I'm supposed to buy another pack of Always, or like, what did that mean for me? And so those kind of things of having my initial feelings of feeling disconnected, dismantled by people who are in my faith community, speaking about their journeys, has meant so much to me. And it's made me a lot more open. When I started the Broken Brown Egg, I didn't talk a lot about faith because, like I said, I didn't want to misrepresent my faith. I never want, on those days where it was really hard and I had said something based on how hard it was, I didn't want somebody to walk away and go, oh, if that's how they act, I knew it. And so it's made me more open by having other people. And I also want to give a shout out to my sister in this work, Reverend Stacey Edwards Dunn of Fertility for Colored Girls, because it means so much for her to be a member of the clergy and have 3 IVF babies and talk about her journey. And not only that, but to encourage and help other people. That means so much, especially in the Black community, because faith is a cornerstone, good or bad, for our culture. And so I've struggled a lot with, where do I feel, and even just where are you, God? You told me that if I did XYZ, you would do the next part, and I don't see you doing. Getting even comfortable with that, with saying I'm upset, and feeling like God is big enough to handle my being upset. I had to come to that and like not feel so like, am I being punished? That was a lot of what I would get from people. They reach out, was like, well, I had an abortion when I was 15, so I feel like I'm being punished by not being able to get pregnant now, or I was molested, or all of these stories I would get in my inbox of people feeling like God was angry with them, and feeling like this was happening to them, rather than your body was designed by a God who says you are fearfully and wonderfully made. If it is not working as designed, talk to the manufacturer. You can say to him, I'm very upset that this is not going the way I thought it would go. Make it make sense to me.
Make it make sense.
And that has been something that has been affirming for me in my faith. But yeah, there's a lot of barriers at first about where I would bump up against what I felt like I was taught because of what I was learning in this community and as a Black woman. And decolonizing that for myself was like a big journey. It's still a journey, but I've just learned to just be like, okay, Lord, look, this is what it is. Because you big enough. If you big enough to do that, then you big enough to hear me say that really hurt my feelings. Whatever the case may be. It's helped me to get to that point now. And I will say, and I know I'm rambling, but it's so much. When we did pursue adoption, that was one of those moments for me, because the Bible speaks so much about, standing in the gap for orphans, and making sure that it shows you in the Bible so many, Moses, one of the biggest stories of adoption. And
We'll be back after a quick break.
Are you a Black woman in middle management looking to elevate your leadership skills in a safe space? Then listen up, because I have something special just for you. Join a coaching group of like-minded women focusing on emotional intelligence, management skills, and leading in white spaces. In our group coaching sessions, you'll gain leadership skills, tools, and strategies. Plus, you'll gain a powerful network of sisters who understand your journey. No more leaning alone. Ready to take the next step? Visit www.iamkelly to learn more and join a cohort. Let's lead together.
Chosen families and all these things. And so when our adoption fell through, I was so mad, because I was like, and I said out loud, God, you knew this wasn't going to work out, and you let me pursue it anyway. And I can't believe you would do that to me. I thought we were cool. And I was so upset. And I had been holding those words in, because I was thinking, if I say this out loud, the lightning's going to come from the sky, and I'm never going to get what I want, because I challenged God. And instead, there was such a sense of peace that came over. And I felt like he was saying, I've been waiting for you to tell me the truth, girl. I knew you was mad.
Stop holding it back.
Say what you got to say. Say it with your chest. Let's do this. And then I felt like, okay, well, now that we're on this level, I can look at my faith differently because I'm not now trying to be this good girl to get something from you. Instead, I'm looking at it as, I thought we were cool. How do we get cool? Because I disagree with this. And at that point, I could then hear him say what he was not pleased with, but it wasn't like, I'm not going to give you things, because I learned to look at it like, he will withhold no good thing from me. So if this didn't work out, I need to understand what is being held from me and whether or not that's God or if that's just life right now. And life might be lifing and God may still be God. And I had to get to that understanding. But that adoption journey is when I really, because I felt like I prayed for this. I really went to the mattresses about this, and I thought, and sometimes it's like, yeah, but that doesn't mean that he didn't move. He just didn't honor my preference. And that was a big revelation for me. And it still is one, but that was a big moment of me looking at my faith differently in this journey. And I feel like it changed a lot for me after that. It made me more determined after that to be like, you know what? Let me tell you what I'm finna do though. I'm not finna sit here. I'm not finna sit here. There's a Red Sea right there and I'm gonna walk right on through it.
I appreciate you being vulnerable. I know you keep saying you're rambling, but you're just like really getting deep into how you're feeling your experiences, and somebody's going to hear this and hear and see themselves in it. So please, don't feel the need to hold back. People hear us talk every week. They'll be all right.
Yeah.
But I do have a question for you in your work with the broken brown egg and in your individual work about what does it look like in your support and advocacy for Black women in terms of their mental health alongside the reproductive health? Because obviously, I can attest to the fact that like how my mental health has been impacted by what's going on with my reproductive health. And so what kind of supports do you provide? What kind of supports have you, sought as a person who's also experienced these?
Yeah, that's a big one. Because I started to realize that they were connected also, that mental health was connected to all of this, that my mood was not just me being mad, it was me being uncomfortable and my quality of life was diminished. It was hard for me to go to work and be pleasant, and that's also, as a Black woman, when you go to work, there's a certain level of I didn't come here to play. I need to come in here and not lose this good job and not show angry Black woman or lazy Black woman or whatever other stereotype I feel has been assigned to me. And so when I'm doing that, but I've been in the ER all night, trying to stop bleeding, I don't know how to put those two things together or apart. And it really got heavy on me that like I need to be transparent because that's gonna save my mental health. Trying to come in here and act like everything is cool is not working.
Yeah.
Because I'm literally feeling like I'm dying. I feel like I'm bleeding to death and nobody cares. And I'm working this job and taking care, because I've been a librarian for a lot of years now. And I was a school librarian first. And it was really hard because I was not only the librarian, but I was the substitute, the lunch monitor, the whatever the school needed me to be that day.
Yeah.
And I was pouring everything I had into those kids. And it was so hard to feel like here I am doing all of this for other people's kids every day. And then I go to these doctors' offices and they treat me like whatever stereotype they think about me. They leave me in waiting rooms for hours. They talk to me like I'm slow. They don't call me back and tell me when my appointments are. It just was such a demoralizing feeling. And eventually I had to get to the point where when I would go in there, I was like, no, I've been here since this time. What are we doing? Because my mental health was struggling from trying to don't cause no waves, don't go in here and act a fool, show them rather than tell them that I am. And it was also like this feeling of like, well, no, you shouldn't be treating them like that neither.
Yeah.
It started to click to me. And on the when I became a public librarian, it started to get to the side of I don't care what you white people think today. Today's not the day. And I recognize everybody doesn't have that kind of job environment where they can, but in whatever little ways, I encourage people to be transparent and say, you know what, today is not a great physical or mental health day for me today. I'll be working quietly. Please direct your things to my email, or I'm going to be I shifted things from can I take next week? Can I take tomorrow? To I'll be taking tomorrow as a personal day.
Yeah.
I've done X, Y, and Z of my assignments, and I'll follow up with everything else when I return. Because I'm not going to argue with you about what I need to be well. And it also became where if I saw other people and they seemed like I've been blessed to be in a management position in the library. And what I've constantly been reminded by my staff is that they've never had a boss who makes mental health a part of what we think about when give assignments, when we treat people like this job is the end all be all. This is created. We made these rules. If I need to change them, I can change it. So if you are out of vacation days, but your body is not working with you today, I'm going to need you to do that from home.
Yeah.
And I know that you're thinking about this place because I see the work that you're doing even when you're not here. Just tell me about it when you get back and we'll calculate that into your hours. I am not going to be the thing that makes somebody feel like life is not worth it anymore. Because there were times where when my period was just going and going and going, and I had no iron and I was exhausted and I felt nobody cares. I was like, so how long we gotta do this life thing? How long we gonna do this? This seems really redundant at this point. And I'm not going to be that for somebody else. I'm not going to do that. And I have really worked to curate for myself mental health tools that support me wherever I am. When I'm at work, behind me, and I know that this, again, everybody can't do this, but there are subtle ways. So on a large scale, I have an office. In my office, I have Funko Pops. I have my coloring sheets. I have Kermit the Frog. I have things around my office to bring me joy. But on a smaller scale, before I was a manager, little things like my screensaver would be encouraging quotes to myself, or a special pen that I would have that had like a color on it that I really, something that I could have tangible to pull me back to myself. Say, you matter. It matters that you're here. Keep going. Something to give myself to look forward to when I was leaving work. In terms of the Broken Brown Egg, what I started was the shell shock support groups. So on Facebook, we have a support group, and then we also have a private one so that people who don't feel comfortable with Facebook or who don't use Facebook can still talk to other people. But we would do things in that Facebook group, like we will have what we call moonshine meetups.
Yeah.
Rest in peace to the good sis Nicole, who never missed a moonshine meetup, where basically we would just chat and just talk about how, I can really use a drink because this is all garbage. Every Mother's Day, we do the Mosaic meetup.
Yes, they do.
And it's our Mother's Day wine sip, where we just connect. It's been around so long that we started on Google Hangouts before Zoom, where we would just connect on Mother's Day to say church sucked today,
and we ain't going.
I ain't going this time. Or I'm not going to my mother-in-law's house for dinner because I don't feel like them asking me 15 times.
Why you don't have no kids yet?
Yeah. Why you don't got no grandkids? Girl, I don't know. You got some money? Because adoption is expensive.
Yeah.
We would have those kind of things to just kind of connect with somebody else who could tell you that you're not crazy for feeling that way, and that it's okay to be angry. It's okay to be sad. You're not weak. You haven't given up. your faith is not strong enough, because that was another one, especially going back to that concept of the church girl mentality. You start to feel like, well, maybe am I not praying the right prayer? Did I not? Okay, well, maybe okay, well, I'm gonna fast again. Like, you start to feel this weight and pressure. And those sessions were good for me too, because it was my opportunity to hear from other people that what I was doing meant something, and to also reaffirm me that, like, no, Regina, you're not crazy.
Mm-hmm.
That was really hard. No, it's okay. And then I journal a tremendous amount. I have it's embarrassing the amount of happy planners I have in this room right now. But I sit with my stickers and all of these things that bring me joy. I have a whole section of coloring books, Black girl coloring books, and I even have a librarian swear words coloring book, so I can just color in what I wish. I even have one that's a coloring book that's called Things I Wish I Could Say at Work, but I can't. And I color those in. But those things bring me joy. Art, doing things with my hands, crocheting, because it's just a simple thing I can do while I'm watching TV. I've had to build those little things in so that I have some kind of a mental health kit with me everywhere I go, because it really did start to wear on me.
Yeah.
Especially being a children's librarian, not just a librarian, but a children's librarian. I had kids coming in all the time, and they would even ask me, my teens would go, Miss Jean, you ain't got no kids? Well, you like my mom. And it would crush me. Or things like the moms that would come for story time. And then after story time, they all like meet up together and talk about being moms. And they're all just like, yeah, so you want to go have lunch? Because I got to get the kids down for a nap. Yeah, me too. And I would just have to sit at the desk like, if y'all don't get y'all ass out of here and get away from me. Or just feeling like invisible. Not only was I the person who didn't have any kids working in the kids department, but I was also the person who was the only Black librarian. And I was working with the teens, who most people don't want nothing to do with. And so I was in the middle all the time, between the childless and the parents, between the adults and the teenagers, between upper management and lower management. Like, I was in the middle all the time. And those things start to weigh on you, especially as a Black woman, because again, you're feeling like, here I am in this highly lack of diversity having industry.
Yeah.
Libraries are not very diverse in terms of the management. And I am expected to behave in a certain way. But I'm also trying to be here for these kids who are Black urban children who have listened to white teachers yell at them all day or tell them what to do all day. And now they come to this space where they're supposed to have autonomy, and hear these white librarians once again trying to tell them what to do without asking them how they're doing and what they're feeling. And it was all day I was in advocacy mode. And so I had to find ways to release that energy and that pressure. It's a constant. Look, when I've been journaling all night. Look. This one was sitting right here when we started. But it keeps me from getting into a dark place. And I've been there, but I've built up a lot of supports for myself, and I've tried to provide that for others so that they know, when they're feeling really low, they can email me. They can put something in the group chat. They can put something in the message board. They can go to my page and scroll and find something that I've said that really is something that I needed somebody to say to me. And that's been helpful for me. And I hope it's been helpful for other people too.
Yeah. I'm curious. You have been successful, I'm using all the air quotes, in becoming a parent.
Right.
Becoming a parent. Did the reproductive health issues go away? Like, what is it like on the other side?
It's a whole other journey. I try to tell people that, like, he exists, but my tubes are still blocked. he exists, but I still don't know if my period is coming or going, how long it's going to be here, whether or not it's going to ruin all my clothes. The PCOS exists as well.
Yeah.
So before this, I was like, okay, so let's shave all of this. Let's put some foundation on. Let's oil this hair because we don't know where that's thinning, because all these things are connected that I didn't know were connected. A lot of times people find out about their reproductive health issues because they're trying to get pregnant. But there's so many things that were before that I didn't even realize were connected, and I didn't know I could have also been taken care of, or that are further reflected by it. So with PCOS, I have a higher propensity towards diabetes, heart disease, stroke, all these other things. But again, we hear it under the guise of reproduction. And so I didn't think about, wait, this affects all these other parts.
Yeah.
Not only that, but in having him, I thought, another old wives' tale that a lot of us have heard is, well, once you have a baby, it'll regulate everything. Your cycles will get regular because it'll reset. No, it don't. I just purchased some inositol supplements and something else to try to once again regulate my period.
Yeah.
I've had, let's see, we're in the 11th month of the year. I think I've had 5 periods this year. And even those were 30-day, 40-day. So they doubled a month. They were like, hey, girl, so I'm not going to come back later February, but what if I just do January and February? Is that going to work for you? Okay, great. I'm just going to stick around. So all of those things still exist. And there are parts of the journey that will stick with you no matter what. There are spaces that I'm in where this is one of the first, and I just got this last week or week before. This is one of the first shirts that I own that says mom on it. I don't feel comfortable in the mom arena because I don't feel fully in that group. And then with the advocacy part of my life, there was a whole point where I didn't feel part of the mom group and I didn't feel part of the infertility group. I was just like, well, where do I go now? Because I don't know where to say, I'm really tired and I wish this baby would go to sleep. Because I can't say that to people who are like, I would give anything for a baby to keep me up.
Right.
So where do I go? And then I would get frustrated too because people who maybe, like I had a small group chat when I was pregnant of other women who had gone through reproductive health issues, and all 4 of us were pregnant at the same time. And after we got past the first year, you saw these split offs because there were some who were like, I've had a miscarriage. I got to this baby. I'm done. Then there was some that was like, I've had a miscarriage. I got to this baby. I'm going for another one. Then there was some that was like, I never wanted more than one. I'm at the one. And then there was me that was like, I have these embryos left. I don't know what I'm going to do. What am I doing next? And you saw all of these paths still start to sprout out because there's still so much more after what people assume is the happy ending. The baby isn't the happy ending.
Yeah.
The getting comfortable with yourself is the happy ending. And I don't know still that I've reached that yet. There are times where I'm overcompensating. If I go to his school or if I am doing something where there's a lot of other, parent expectation, I instantly feel like I have to overcompensate because I didn't get to motherhood the same way that other people did. And I feel like I can't fail. When he was very small, I was like, we're going to eat organic and I'm going to figure out how to make my own foolish thing that I was like, these are the goals. He don't care. Homeboy don't care. And I've had to really get that clear with myself too. He is not my infertility journey. He is his own person. And he do not care about what you feel like you went through to get. He still want to stay up till 1 o'clock in the morning and play his Switch. He really could care less.
Yeah.
And I have to wrap my head around that. So there's all these different parts of like, Regina, you're allowed to be, yes, you are a parent. You can have, you can join the PTA. There's not like a big sign that says, there's not a big I on your shirt or your hat that says, you did IVF. And like getting clear with the fact that like, I don't know everybody else's story who's in that space.
Yeah.
I don't know how they
I was
got
gonna
to
say.
parenthood.
Mm-hmm.
And it's this big fight, unspoken fight in the infertility like community of like social media and stuff of who, what I call the pain Olympics, who went through more so that they get to have the, I went through 8 rounds and so sometimes I'm struggling with that because I did 1 round and I'm like, well, shoot, do I have a fight? Do I have a, and I really wish people would understand that what brings us together is not the similarities of the struggle. What brings us together is the emotion, the feeling.
Yeah.
If one person did, 15, rounds of IVF and another person did 1 IUI, which is intrauterine, that doesn't mean that that person who did the one doesn't feel emotionally as heavy as the other person who did all those rounds. There's this idea that we're supposed to be in this pain Olympics with each other of who had it worse. And sometimes I don't need to care who had it worse. I just want to sit with somebody who understands. I don't really care, if I'm reaching some level of what an infertility story is supposed to look like. I need somebody to also understand that it still hurts me that I have these embryos and I don't know if I can use them at all. I don't know what I'll be able to do. Or my body still doesn't work right because of these other things. So I may be scared to do those things.
Yeah.
Or in the vein of Black women, I was scared in the first place. And now, considering our maternal mortality rates are even higher, I'm scared again. So I don't know what I want to do. All of those things, I feel like we need to be more open with each other and understanding with each other that the feeling is what needs somebody to say, I see you, as opposed to this list of checking off boxes of, well, did you do this? Did you do that? Well, did you adopt? Well, did you attempt it? I just need somebody who gets it.
Yeah.
I just need somebody who gets it. And I've tried to be that and to remind people that this side is still hard. This side is still hard. It still hurts when I see other people that are able to say, all right, well, we did 1 IVF, let's just do another. And I'm sitting here like, I'm trying to pay
But
for the first one.
This one that's here, he's expensive.
yeah.
And not only is he expensive, but the people who are storing those embryos are going to send me a bill every year. And when that bill shows up, it's like a big giant, so what you going to do?
Right.
So what are you thinking about? So what are you going to do next? So what, all the time. And that goes back to why I have to journal and color and play my video games. Because it is a constant, it's something coming at us all the time.
Yeah. Regina, you mentioned your embryos. I'm curious because I didn't see when these fools tried to decide that embryos were full humans and worthy of legal protection. I didn't see them talking to a lot of Black women. I didn't see a lot of Black voices in that conversation, but I saw Resolve, and Resolve is a well-known fertility organization, and some others. I'm curious, did they reach out to you? Were the voices of Black and brown, particularly Black women, a part of that conversation? The voice of queer Black folks, were those included in the national discussion?
They were. They did reach out. A few different organizations reached out, and when everything happened, because it was Alabama that kicked off the foolishness, and I still was trying to wrap my head around the whole thing, and so I wasn't able to respond because I was still just trying to figure out, what do I say when I'm stuck on, how did y'all even fix y'all mouth to say, like, and it was difficult also because I felt like we have half of the infertility community that's trying to be clear about, look, embryos are not babies. They are the potential for babies. They are genetically ready to become babies, but they are not.
Yeah.
And then we have the other side who, when they go and do IVF and they get the embryos, they'll post the
picture of the
image and they'll say, look at my M babies. And so it was like, how do I not offend the ones who do feel like, because of that potential, these are my future children, and those who are saying yes, but they're not, because if we say that they are, then we don't have access to the care.
Yeah.
So I hear what you're saying, but also shush it.
Yeah.
I couldn't figure out how to diplomatically address it. My personal feelings were, this makes no sense to me, and I don't understand how you guys are going to do this and not think it's going to affect IVF in the future.
Right.
But I could not figure out how to, on a platform that large, say something that would not be harmful. Because it was hard. I had, like I said, it was a few people that I knew who had posted, like, these are my M babies and this, and I'm like, but you can't say that while we're trying to tell them that's not
tricky.
It was very tricky. It was very, very tricky, and it still is.
Yeah.
It still is. That's one of those areas, like I was saying, that I struggle with what I believe in my heart versus what I've been taught or what it seems like on the surface level. And I struggle with it to this day.
Yeah.
Of like, what do I feel? And how do I relate that without damaging or harming somebody's heart who is coming to me for support and encouragement?
Yeah.
So it's tricky, but there were people that reached out. I'm sure if they reached out to me, they also reached out to K Foundation and Fertility for Colored Girls. But we try to be as visible on our platforms as possible, of saying, like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
So you kind of hinted at it just now in this last section about the difficulty of, like, being nonpartisan, not just in a political stance, but just in terms of how people view something. But as we all know, we are the political moment that is requiring us to think differently, no matter what side we're on, about what the future of all this looks like, right? And the work that you're already doing is already hard, particularly in the South, or, it's been written. It's been the handbook has been written that is going to be harder. So what are you and other people in your organization, but also other people that you ally with and collaborate with, what are you doing to prepare for what 2025 might look like, if Project 2025 and things like that actually are going to come into play?
It's right now, it's been so difficult for me to even wrap my head around what to do. Because I feel literally without IVF, I would not have my son. And so this idea of not making other people able to choose their own path that way, it hurts my heart in such a way that it has kind of laid me low. The post that I posted yesterday was just like, I don't even know what the words are to say. I don't want to be toxic positive. I don't want to be overly negative. Yes, I'm trying to keep my own sanity and my own mental health moving in a way that makes me feel hopeful. And so what I've instead looked at is, one, I try to live by two of my mentors in my head are Jim Henson and Mr. Rogers. And Mr. Rogers famously said, look for the helpers. when things are dark and dreary. Look for the helpers.
Such a good librarian.
Oh my God.
I was going to say.
And so in terms of looking for the helpers and recognizing that for some people, I am one, I've been trying to decide what is help. What does help look like? And right now, help looks like having somebody who can say, all hope is not lost.
Mm-hmm.
I may not know what the path is. I may not know what the answers are, but I'm standing with you.
Yeah.
You're not by yourself. You're not in the dark by yourself. And if we are together, if
Mm-hmm.
two or more are gathered, and I've been trying to lift that up, not only in the reproductive health arena, but also at work at the library, because I have staff who are discouraged. And I'm like, we have babies coming in here every week who are looking to us. So we're going to give them the best experience that we can so that they leave here as kind human beings and that they can move forward in life and spread that and pay it forward.
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes to the reproductive health arena, I've tried to look at my work as I may not be curing cancer. I may not ever be able to cure all of these reproductive health and justice issues. But my goal is to keep giving hope to the people who may one day have that child or adopt that child or give a home to that child, who will eradicate these issues, who can stop some of these, overwhelmingly atrocious mindsets by being kind, by being an example of, generosity and love and inclusion.
Mm-hmm.
On the practical side, I have really tried to protect my mental health first and then do a deep dive into information, because information overload doesn't work well for me. It doesn't vibe well with my Prozac. And so I have tried to prepare myself. Like Tuesday, I stayed home from work. That was one of those, I'm taking a day. I ain't gonna be able to do it with y'all. And I went to bed. I watched Harry Potter and I went to bed because I have to prepare me first so that I can go into these spaces where I'm expected to be the beacon
of light. Yeah.
Because if I don't have any light, I can't shine any. And for years, where the broken brown egg has sat in the reproductive health arena, we don't do the legislative the same way that Cave Foundation or Resolve does. We don't have chapters all over the place like Fertility for Colored Girls does. But what we do is we connect.
Yeah.
The broken brown egg connects people, and we connect people to resources and supports that are available. And so my goal is to continue to do that. If your state or your area is no longer a safe space for you to pursue your family building goals, let me put you in touch with where you can go.
Yeah.
Let me put you in touch with who can help.
Mm-hmm.
And I also look at this as an opportunity for us to see who's putting their money where their mouth is and who has been saying, because see, when we were dealing with in 2020, were all these people who were doing a whole lot of performance because they were seeing a whole lot of uprising. And they were like, let me align myself with these Black organizations because I need them to know I got their back as long as they use my resources. And that money gonna come back to me anyway.
Preach a word.
And we knew what it was.
Yeah.
There are genuine people that work there.
Yeah.
But the ultimate goal of the organization is this is a money machine. And so knowing that as we move forward, I need to see that was your performance. Now I need to see your actual who you are outside.
Yeah.
What's the Us Weekly version of you? Because that was nice to put us on the cover of something and, do a shared post. That's real cute. I need $20,000 because I need to be able to help 2 more people.
And it's going to be more expensive to get somebody to another state to be able to create their family. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna need you to sponsor me being at the reproductive medicine conference. I'm gonna need that from you. Thanks. You know why? Because if I'm out here telling these people hey, you have the right to pursue your health. You have the right to do this. I'm sending you money at the detriment to myself.
Yeah.
Because I'm doing this when I am tired. I'm doing this when I barely, librarians don't get into the field to make a whole lot of money. That ain't what we do. And contrary to belief, we don't even get to read that much, to be honest. We don't. There's a lot of other stuff. And honestly, both my careers are dealing with foolishness.
Yeah.
So for what I am putting on the line for me, in terms of my mental health, my time with the son that I fought to get to, the time with my husband, the time in this house that I fought to get, I'm going to need you to compensate me. Because you're going to get your money either way.
Yes, they are.
And so I would like for people to put their money where their mouth is now. If you've said that you stand with and you do this and you do that, and yeah, that's real good. I would like to open a clinic on the south side of Chicago. What you got on?
Ooh.
So that's where I'm at, where it's like I don't have time to listen to all of that. What we talking about? In the words of the famous psalmist Sean Carter, what we talking about? What we doing?
What we doing?
Because the time for all of that is done. And I don't want to get to a place where we're so defeated that we can't plan. And this actually aligns with what my pastor said this morning, which is sometimes God doesn't give you a solution, he gives you a strategy. And so right now, my eyes are open for the strategy. What are we going to do to ensure? And I try to think in terms of one thing leading to the next in a positive rather than the negative. What we have seen happen is far more people being aware of their civic rights and responsibilities. When we saw, and I just say this let me just go straight to like teen librarian side. I've seen so many more teens look up what they need to know to run for president one day. I've seen so many more young people look up, what do I need to know to take control of my reproductive health now in the past few years than ever before, because they want to be prepared.
Yeah.
And so my job right now is to help that group. And it can sound like, yeah, but what about us? I'm leaving that part to God because I don't have an answer for that. But what I can do,
get them babies ready,
is to continue to help the ones who are coming up so that they can help. And I've seen so many more people get aware of how their body works. I've seen so many more Black women since we've started just talking about, I think people don't recognize that you can break something down with just a drop at a time. And I've seen so many more since we've started talking about the maternal mortality crisis of Black women. I've seen so many more Black women look into becoming and hiring doulas and birth workers. I've seen so many more Black women look into how their bodies work, how to do holistic remedies, how to, support and encourage one another, to get back to the village mentality that we used to have.
So also, one thing, not to interrupt, sorry, but I've been also enjoying recently people saying, you know what, Black women, we got. We got to stop trying to save everybody else. We got to save. I've been enjoying those conversations.
Save ourselves. Yeah.
There's been a lot of that. There's been a lot of, okay, so look, so what we got to do.
And I'm going to tell you, the white folks are afraid of that. Because one thing Black women going to do, we gonna nurse your children. We going to raise your children. We going to clean your house. But if we say no, we actually going to make sure our house is in order and y'all figure out your shit
on your time.
You should be afraid.
We quick to be like, you got it.
You got it.
No, you got it. No, really, you got it.
They forgot that we invented F around and find out.
Yeah.
Like everybody got the cute little post with the white man at the board. But where they think that came from?
Yeah, that's like, really that's what we call grandmama wisdom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's generational wisdom that has been passed down. One of the things when I started researching for my book was this concept of the history and the context of Black history when it relates to reproductive health and justice. If you read about the history of Black people and health in general, it'll make your toes curl.
Mm-hmm.
But there is so much wisdom that we had that was born on the backs of necessity.
Yeah.
And so when you look at, oh, so y'all want to experiment on Black bodies? Cool. We're going to figure out how to do this ourselves. I need you to go down there, pick that root, bring that back. I'm going to boil that. We're going to make it into this tea. You're going to drink it. We're going to put a little salve on your leg. You go back out there, act like ain't nothing happened. That's where those things came from, was from, we need to protect each other.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to lose you. Same with our thoughts about adoption. It was, you got, your mama got sold away. Guess what? You my daughter now. We're going over here. This, you with us. There was no formal adoptions and things like that. We just took in who we needed to take in, and that's your sister now.
Sure
Treat her
did.
like.
Yeah.
I got aunts and uncles like that.
Yeah.
Same.
Oh, yes. We all got somebody where we go, wait a minute.
Where you come from?
How we related to so-and-so?
How you become a Jones?
Yeah. And it'd be like, because. But those things, those wisdom, and I think sometimes we have to, there's some parts of our history, in our family histories or our cultural histories, that we like, ooh, don't want to see that ever again. Leave that back there. As my cousin would say, don't pass that down. Don't pass that down. But there are other parts that were genius.
Yeah.
Genius of like, how are we going to get from point A to point B? Because I need you at point B.
Yeah.
And so many decisions of our elders were made with the thought of us. And so I lean on that, back to that church girl, mentality. I lean a lot on, Lord, I know that my ancestors prayed prayers that were supposed to extend to me. And so I'm standing in those prayers right now. Lord, I know that there is somebody who had no idea that one day their generations below them would get to this point. And I'm believing for that answered prayer right now, because your word is constant. And so I've had to like really stick to those things that I tell myself of like, somebody prayed, like those songs, they meant something. Somebody prayed.
How I got over. My soul looks back and wonders
how I got over.
I'm going to have my hanky next time.
Somebody prayed for me. They had me on their mind.
Took the time and prayed
for me.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad they prayed.
Yes.
I'm so glad they prayed.
So that's something that I hold on to. And I had to tell somebody this week who was, I get it. And I fight against it, but I get it. I get the feeling of hopelessness. I get it. I understand it. And yet, there is no real relationship where trust is not tested. And so if God has asked and called me to do this thing, and every time that I wonder, well, Lord, am I supposed to be doing this reproductive health thing? Is this what you really want? Every single time he sends something that says, yeah, girl, keep going. So I have had to really tell myself that God is not going to put me in a position where I am going to be ridiculed in his name. And so if I've been placed here to do this thing, there's something that I'm supposed to keep doing. And my job is the obedience. His job is the come through. He's going to handle that part. And it's hard for me to explain that sometimes, because I know everybody doesn't have the same faith. But for me, that's how I get through the day, is to be like, look, you said, it says right here, you said, do you see this? Because I know you said, and I have to say it until I see it.
Yeah.
Because if I don't see it, I can start to. So I've had to really tell myself, and I've been standing heavy in it this week, that the power of life and death is in the tongue, and that I believe what you said to me. And so I'm going to speak that, because I just can't believe you did all of this before for me to get here And then you be like, I'm good. I can't believe that. I can't believe you gave me these visions for what's to come next. I can't believe you put these things in my heart for you to now take it from me. I can't believe that, because it will make every other thing you've done for me a lie. And I don't believe that. And figuring out how to translate that for the broken brown egg is what I've been asking for direction on the past few days. How do I translate what I feel in my spirit to people who I don't know what their faith walk is? And how do I do it in a way where it doesn't come across as toxic positivity? And so I've been really patient with myself, and I try to journal it before I do any content. I think sometimes the work for the broken brown egg for me is harder because other content creators, they create in advance. They batch record, do all the things, set it up. And so it's still a hard job, but it's not as constant. Well, with me, when it comes to the broken brown egg, I have tried to make things so organic because I feel that that's what I needed. I needed somebody to tell me, yeah, but how you feeling today, girl? Because today is hard. And so I've really tried to be patient with myself, because this week I felt like people needed me to say something, but I didn't know what to say. And finally I had to be like, Regina didn't say that. And that's what I said. And that's what I'm going to keep doing, is to be like, girl, I don't know. Today is hard. But here's what I do know. That you're not alone, that I'm here with you. Even if you can't see me, I'm here. That when you don't know, what to do next, trust you're not the only person feeling that way. That if you still believe for your plans, that there is somebody praying with you and thinking of you. And I'm hoping with you. There were so many times that I think our ancestors felt our hope was lost. And then it was a setup for something amazing. And it may not be amazing in a way that everybody can see it, but it's amazing for you. And holding on to that, I think, is the hardest for people, because they're looking at everything. And sometimes you need to be here with yours. What is happening here? And that has taken me a long time, and a couple of, I won't even lie, mental breakdowns to get to.
Yeah.
Because my mind is always going and looking and doing, and what can I fix and what can I do, and burnt me clean out a few times. And I know that right now, this year will be the first Christmas and holiday season that my husband is without his mom. That I have multiple other friends and families that all lost their moms in the past year. And I've had a lot of mental health struggles about the idea of motherhood and where we stand as communal mothers. Even if we aren't physical mothers or parenting mothers, but what we are for the community as Black women.
Yeah.
And that energy is lacking right now because so many are grieving.
Yeah.
They're grieving their plan. They're grieving their physical people. There's so much of a sense of grief. And so I'm trying to tap into, what is it that the maternal forces in my life have entrusted me with? And a lot of that is encouragement when I thought I couldn't do it. Speaking truth to power in front of me so that I could see it. Telling me that I was capable of greater than they ever could do. Giving me a space to cry when I needed to cry. Like those bullet points of motherhood mentality are what I've been holding on to, and I'm hoping is what the Broken Brown Egg will be doing going forward. Is really trying to take this concept of the Black woman as the communal mother and looking at those bullet points of what I've learned from those people who didn't have any kids, but they're the teacher that everybody respected. They're the one that can put order where there was no order.
Yeah.
And how to do that right now, because there's a lot of noise. And I need to cut through that, because somebody needs to know that it's okay to still hope, that it's okay to still believe, that it's okay to still move forward, because we need you.
Yeah.
I would offer and consider, because it sounds like a lot of what you just said in terms of communal mothers are the aunties. I am one of those. I am the auntie extraordinaire. I'm not gonna lie. I am one of the best aunties out.
She be buying
and so
Billie Eilish tickets and things.
so
you next level. You an auntie.
I'm rich. I ain't rich, but I'm the rich auntie. So yeah, it sounds like there's space for us even in this conversation.
Oh yes.
And the communal mothers, and as we think about how we move forward and what feels to be hopeless times, that we need the mothers, we need the other mothers, we need the aunties, we need everybody at the table.
Yeah. Awesome.
And I want to, we tend to wrap up with some kind of takeaway of like what we got from the conversation, but I would like to offer something different, and about our takeaway being like, from the beginning of the conversation to now, like, what are you feeling in your body? Because a lot of this is about like, honoring ourselves and honoring our bodies and honoring our mental. So from where we started to where we are now, what do you feel in your body? What do you have to offer that you would like to like leave as a takeaway for this conversation?
I think that is the beautiful takeaway, is to give ourselves permission to feel what we feel in our bodies. To feel, just last night I stopped and I prayed and I said, Lord, what you doing? like for real though, but like, so miracles, is that what we're doing now? What are we finna do? Just so I know, because I don't want to get in your way. And I have said, I don't know so many times. And as a librarian and a proud Ravenclaw, I try not to say those words. But I've been trying to get okay with the fact that I don't know. I'm one of those people, and Judah, my son, is as well, where we got to know, well, where we going? Well, what we doing? Well, who's going to be there? Well, how long are we supposed to stay? Well, okay, there's food, but what kind of food? Because I don't eat all the food. And okay, but what if? And so my lesson has been, I don't got to know. I don't got to know everything, because I know one thing. And that one thing is that I'm loved, I'm cared for, I'm not forgotten. Your word says I'm etched in the palm of your hand. And I have to remember that so that I don't fall apart. And so that feeling is what's in my body, is that it's almost, it's like a roller coaster a little bit, but more like a tilt-a-whirl, where it's not real danger. Where I feel myself getting ready to go into my panic mode. And then there's this calm that comes around me that's like, let's go get something to drink.
You good. Mm-hmm.
And then I get back into but what about, did you eat yet, Regina? And then I get back into mine and I start, well, what if you should read a book. And it's been that, where it's like every time the normal me would be like, what the fuck are we doing? Mm-hmm. There's something that pulls me back and says, I got it. I got it. You don't gotta got it, because I got it. It's like that feeling, on Medea, where she'd be like, no, I got you. I got you. What did we say? That feeling of that protective wing over is what's been holding me, no pun intended. That feeling of like, no, I got you. You know what you need to do? Decide how you want to decorate for Christmas. Mm-hmm. You know what you need to do? Order you some clothes. Like, there's that feeling of like, right when the, because I feel I'm amongst other church girls in some way.
Recovering, but yes.
Yes. That feeling of, go borrow everything you're going to borrow from the Egyptians, because we finna go. That feeling of like, hey girl, can I borrow $20? Because you finna get handled, but I'm going to still have that 20. There's that feeling that I have been holding on to, of there's something that right when I get ready to do my normal, what in the world? Something covers me and says, it's okay. Did you eat yet? Did you get something to drink? Have you taken?
You just started another podcast with that.
Yeah.
The Egyptian, borrow everything you got to borrow from the Egyptians.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Fitting to go.
yeah.
That's a whole nother topic.
Look,
We got to go.
She got a sermon in the
part
tuck
two.
for next week.
Yeah. We got to go part 2 for that. For sure. Because my brain was like, ding. I wanted to share my takeaway because I, in this conversation, just had chills because I said it in 2016 and I feel it more, I guess the word is resolutely. Today, I'm more resolved that we will be fine, right? One thing we know about Black folks is we have survived every atrocity this fake democracy has tried to destroy us with, and we have always risen, right? And so the spirit of fear doesn't belong to us. It doesn't belong to us because everything our ancestors labored and prayed has already been seeded for us. And so I really, in this conversation, was like, oh, I can walk way differently because I know I have the tools, I have the spiritual covering, and the ancestral wisdom I need for me and mine to be good. So that was my takeaway for today. What about you, Ken?
Yeah, very similar. And I'll just say it in a short way to say that, like, I have this thing that, like, I freak out. Like, I had anxiety for several weeks, right? Leading up to this week. And then my body has started to calm down. And the worst Kendra that you ever want to confront is the Kendra that is calm and clear-minded. And I said, like, all the storm came. I was prepared. I was worried about the storm before the storm came. The storm came, and now I'm as calm as a cucumber, and I'm even scared. I'm like, ooh. And I feel like that's collective Black women. I feel like that, and I'm not saying it just to be funny. I feel like the F around and found out factor is so high that people are going to get even more afraid because they're going to see how calm and collected we are, because there's a spiritual center. I always talk about the divine feminine. There's a spiritual center that we are being as Black women, that we're just like, when you know what's really going on, we are been confronted with what's really going on. We already knew, but now we really know. And now we can just rest assured and be assured that we got to rest in that, and we're going to be all right.
It's a collective bet.
Yeah, exactly. Period. Like,
bet.
I got your number to what your point earlier. You got it.
Cool.
You got this one. Y'all got it. Cool. I got email. That's a whole nother conversation. I'll do that for later. All right, we out of here. Regina, we thank you so much.
Thank you, Regina.
We thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. This was so helpful to me. I hope it was helpful to somebody else. Or just
I'm sure it will be.
Encouragement in the collective.
Yeah.
We need each other, and we got each other, and I love that.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a beautiful day to be a Black woman.
It is a beautiful day.
Two of my best friends are also Zetas. And as soon as I tell them that we interviewed a Zeta, that's all we gotta say, and then this podcast gonna
if the Zetas just want to all follow us, y'all are welcome to the pod. Just
we finna be popping in the Zetaverse.
click subscribe.
Yeah, like, subscribe.
I'm
and all
a tag national on this one.
And
but I did want to, Regina, really quickly, if you wouldn't mind, just telling us a little bit about your book. You mentioned it earlier when you were doing research, but I would love to make sure that our listeners know about your book, what it's about, where they can find it.
Thank you. It's called Make Sense, IF for infertility. It is on Amazon, and it is putting the words to the feels of infertility and reproductive health. And it's part memoir. It tells my story and my journey, but it's also informational. It talks about our history in this country with medicine, our valid mistrust of the medical industry, and what we've done to change that. And there's even like fun things. I have coloring sheets in there. I have some waiting room bingo stuff to do to just kind of get your head, out of the heaviness of it all, while also trying to be really educational as in a concise way of what we have experienced, will be experiencing. And even there's like prompts in there for like what to say when people are like, when you gonna have kids, I give you a whole list of ways to respond if you want to be petty or if you want to be for real. Or, so because you can go real easy from the we just waiting all the way up to the if you got $20,000, I'll take it. So those kind of things, and it is for all ages, and whether or not people are Black or not, I tell them pick it up because it's good information about reproductive health and the history.
Excellent. We'll be sure to share the link in the show notes.
And we'll also share the socials and things.
Oh, yes. Yes,
Your
where
socials.
can folks find you online?
Yeah.
At Broken Brown Egg on Instagram, The Broken Brown Egg on Facebook, brokenbrownegg.org. And I just hit TikTok. I'm still figuring that out because I was like, this is too much social media. I can't keep up with all of this. You got to work a full-time job to be out here doing any kind of social media. But TikTok is Broken Brown Egg 09.
Awesome.
So find me in all those places. Invite me out. I love to help you change the conversation for your community because these kind of conversations are what we need.
Yeah.
These are the village conversations that we need.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate you.
Oh, I love you guys. Thanks for having me.
Love you too. Absolutely.